so many caches. But just think, whenever we are installing the IBM BPM, only 4 MB to 5 MB of the entire memory gets allocated for the cache. Okay, so just so we never switch it off. So it gets stored, but yes, at times what happens if the cache memory becomes full, we can actually reset the cache memory from here. You see, just next to it, you have an option called actions, and in this action column, there is a button to every cache that is reset. If I click on reset, this cache memory will be cleared. Okay, so if I click on reset, so you see, okay, so it is getting refreshed as well. So the cache memory, the time is also increasing, and there is basically is a kind of refresh button. Okay, now in case if I'm starting the server, if I'm restarting the server, in that case this cache memory will be deleted. It gets cleared, right? So by that also I can clear the cache. And here reset is just refreshing the cache. So if the cache is again getting updated by someone else is logging in, then in that case the last access and every details will also get updated. Okay. If I click on show, it will give me a pop-up where I will be able to see some details. So here the details are not coming properly. So here you see the user ID, I can see. So it is so much security is there. It is not even showing the username of the user. It is showing the user ID. So whenever you create some user credentials for some user, at the backend also the some user ID also gets created for that user. So you see here, I don't see any username and password. I see only one thing over here, that is the user ID of the user who has clicked. Okay, where he has logged in, all the details will not be here. There is just a profile cache. So whoever is logging into some component, that person's user ID will be visible over here. So this server is being accessed only by me. That's the reason it is showing my user ID over here, with which I have logged in to this process admin. Okay, so you can close it in this way. So go through this thing. Okay, so whenever you are installing the IBM BPM, so you'll be able to access this feature. Just one thing, if you are using BAW on trial, okay, business automation workflow on trial version, you will not be able to access the process admin. Okay, so the trial version, so basically if you have to access the process admin, you have to be a part of a group called TW underscore admins. We'll be discussing on that today. Okay, so we have to be a part of that group, then only we can access the process admin, all the features process admin. Okay, so generally for the BAW on cloud or trial version, whenever you are registering yourself, they will give you some credentials, but those credentials they are not part of the admin team. That's the reason for the BAW cloud or trial version, you will not be able to access the process admin part. You will be able to log in, but all these features you will not be able to see. Okay, so my suggestion would be as soon as possible install this IBM BPM 8.6 so that you guys can go through all these features separately. Okay, apart from the session also you can go through these topics. Okay, so this is the manage cache option where we have the different types of caches, and I believe we understood what we have here. Whatever columns we have understood them, right? So we move on to the next one, task cleanup. Task cleanup, as a developer, we don't do a cleanup from here. We can create, we can delete any task. If you have to clean up any task, we have the process inspector. We never access the process admin to clean up any task, guys. Okay, never do any cleanup from here. If you're not aware of it completely, we should never use these options. So for us, we process inspector through which we should do any kind of cleanup. Okay, any kind of task cleanup, any kind of instance cleanup, right? So here we'll see what features we have. If you see the first option here, clean up task attachments that have been orphaned or are associated with deleted tasks. Okay, we'll understand each term one by one. Okay, and mainly see all whatever options you see here. These are different ways of cleaning up tasks, and nearly every option has got similar terms over here: deleted tasks, orphan tasks, task attachments. So let's understand these terms first. Okay, first, task attachment. Here, attachment does not mean the attachment that we do in a mail. Here, task attachments, it is not again some document. No. Here, task attachment means whatever data, whatever runtime data the task is holding, or the task is, it has whatever runtime data the task is holding at that point of time. If I have to clean up that task, then in that case, I can use this first option, which will clean up not only the task, but also the runtime data, whatever the task is holding at that point of time. Okay. Now, orphan. Now you will see many, especially the admin team or the infra team, or even if you have the architect or the designer in your team, they will use these terms orphan tokens, orphan tasks, right? So, what is this exactly? Whenever, say, I'll give an example, say, I have submitted a leave application, right? Now, Sarvana has a task. Sarvana is my manager, so he has a task through which he will approve or reject my leave, right? Now that task has a due date, correct? Every instance or every case, whenever it gets created, it has an SLA, right? It has some due date by which I have to complete that task. Now, say the task which I have submitted for my leave application, Sarvana has to complete the task by today. Today is 21st of September. But somehow Sarvana did not approve or reject that leave. Maybe I went ahead and I said that don't approve, I am canceling my leaves, and the task is still there in Sarvana's work list. Right? Now days have passed, months have passed. It's like, say, in the month of February we are in 2022. The task is available over there. That task is considered as an orphan task. Why? Because nobody is claiming that task and completing it. So that's considered as an orphan task. Okay. And whenever you have a task, whenever you have an active task on a process, there is a token which gets generated for a task. Then that token is considered as an orphan token, which is sitting on an orphan task. Okay. So whenever we are running a process, whenever we are triggering a process in IBM BPM, different tasks, whatever are there inside the process, those tasks gets triggered, right? And every task will have an SLA, will have some due date. If I do complete the task by that due date, then after the due date is crossed, after the due date is crossed, I mean, say after 2-3 months of the due date, that task is often considered as an orphan task. Okay. Now, if I want to delete those orphan tasks as a developer, yes, I can go into the process inspector and I can delete them. Even there is another component called REST API. From the REST API, also I can delete any orphan tasks or any tasks, whatever I want to delete. I can delete from the REST API as well. And if I'm an admin, if I'm someone from the infra team, they will never have the access to inspector or REST API, but they can come here and they can try deleting the orphan tasks from the from this option. Okay. And you see it is also saying tasks which are associated with deleted tasks. Okay. Task attachments that are associated with deleted tasks. Now there are tasks which you'll see, say for example we have an instance, right? Now what is an instance? We have a process. Whenever you trigger that process, an instance gets created for that process, right? Say for example, if I am going to the bank and I want to apply for a loan, for a home loan, so for me an instance will be created for the business process home loan application in so and so bank, right? So whenever all the activities, all the tasks related to my loan application will be completed. The entire process will also be completed, which means the instance will also be completed for my loan application. Okay. So an instance consists of different tasks. Okay. Now, if that instance is terminated somehow, okay. So tomorrow I think that maybe I don't need this instance. How can this happen? I'll give an example again. I went to say XYZ bank. I applied for a loan, and 2 days later I got a better offer from another bank. So when I went to the XYZ bank, I submitted my loan application. So my loan application is already in progress over there, which means the process has already been triggered for me right over there. So that instance which got created in that XYZ bank for my loan application process, when I tell them that today, say I call them up today and say them that, hey, I don't need your loan. I have got a better offer from another bank. So you can cancel the loan application for me. So what they can do, they go and terminate that instance. Okay. So the IT people from there, whenever they will inform that this guy Rahul, he doesn't need any loan from this bank now, from our bank. So what they will do, they can go and terminate that instance. Whenever they terminate that instance, whatever tasks are associated with those instance, it goes into the deleted. It is considered as to be a deleted task, which means whatever data that deleted task is now holding, I can clear that data using the first option, clean up task attachments that are associated with deleted tasks. Okay. So like this, you have the different other options also. Very same kind of options you have. Second option says clean up tasks and their associated data that are marked as deleted. Clean up tasks and their associated data for tasks in the deleted state or sent state. State means, say, some task is completed, right? Even a completed task also holds some data. How can we check all these things, like what data it is holding, this task, what data it is exactly holding? All these things we can see from the process inspector. Okay. So here the problem with these options is you are not able to see the data whenever you're trying to clean them up, right? But from the inspector, I can actually view the data, and I can accordingly, I can also read them from there. So here send state means that say a task is completed, and even a completed task holds some runtime data. So if I want to delete those kind of tasks, then I can use this option, clean up tasks and their associated data for tasks in the deleted or send state. Similarly, you have the last option also, clean up tasks and their associated data for tasks in the deleted, sent, or closed state. So sent or closed is the same actually. So there is no difference. So whenever a task is completed, the state changes to closed, and we also can consider the state to be a sent. Okay. So for deleting this kind of tasks, I can use options. Now you see everything, whichever option I select, there is a table below, right? And that table, you see, everything has got zero right now, which means in this server, this I've installed recently. I installed this like 2 days before in the system. That's when I haven't created any process. I have not triggered any process. Basically, my server does not have any process at all. That's the reason there is no task. It is giving me zero. So in a real-time environment, whenever you go to some UAT environment or some production environment, or even in some development environment, if you log into the process admin, definitely you will see those tasks and attachments will be visible. And next to it, you have the cleanup button. So you select an option from here. That data will be reflected over here on the left-hand side table. And then next to it, you have a button called cleanup. Whenever you click on cleanup, it says cleanup in progress. And after the cleanup is done, on the right-hand side, it will show you the updated data. Okay, I'll give a simple example. Say here on the left hand side, the task is showing you as 125. And here the attachment is showing you say as 1000. Whenever you click on, it does not mean that at one button click, all the 125 tasks will be deleted. No, it doesn't happen that way over here. Okay. So whenever you click on cleanup, maybe it will delete say 15 tasks or 20 tasks at one go and 20 attachments at one go. Then that data will be shown to you. So 125 minus 20 is 105. It will show you over here on the right hand side as 105. If 1000 was the attachment, if like 20 attachments have been deleted, it will show me here like 980, right? So again, when you click on cleanup, again I'll see the count over here is decreasing. Here it will increase, sorry, and here it will decrease. Okay, so whenever it becomes zero on the left hand side, which means all the tasks have been deleted, all the attachments have been deleted. Okay, it's good to know all these things, because although we'll not be doing any cleanup from here, but tomorrow if somebody asks you, then we can definitely give an answer to them. Okay, we can definitely help that person. Health management. Health management, this option was not there initially. Okay, when we started working on IBM BPM, like in the older version 7.5, 8.0, 8.5, till 8.5, 8.5.5, this option was not there. So if I, so say for example, like 7 to 8 years back, if I have to go and tell the infra team that hey, go and delete all the instances from this server, from the development server, at times what happens, you will see, whenever you're working in a project, the developers who will be doing the development, they will also test that, right? Whatever artifacts they are creating, they are going to test those artifacts. Now often it happens in the development environment that create we trigger a process multiple times to test the process, and after testing we don't delete the instances. It has been found out in many projects, like in one of my project also, I have seen the same. And as a result, what happened, so I joined that project like 1 year. The project was running in IBM. I joined that project like after a year, and we used to see that every day, nearly every day, the development server used to go down almost 2 to 3 times. Okay, the performance of the server has gone down so much. And when we started looking into it as a developer, that why the server is going down, we found that this project is running for the last say 1.5 year. The developers who are there, they were continuously creating the instances, but they were not deleting it after doing the testing. Okay, this I'm talking about the development environment where you're using the process designer. So there were almost like 3000 to 4000 instances which were there. Some of them are active, some of them completed, but they are still there in the server. Okay. Now we can, as a developer, we can delete those instances from where? We can delete them from the process designer as well. Right? How we can do that? As I said you, there are two views. One is the designer view where we do the development, and there is an inspector view where we inspect on each and every instances. Whenever we are triggering a process, in the inspector view, it shows us the instances that are getting created, right? So we can also delete the instances from the inspector view. But just think of the overhead, 3000 to 4000 instances if they are there in the inspector view. It is not possible to delete the instances from, because you cannot select all the instances at one time. So you have to select like 10 instances, 15 instances at one time, and then you have to do it, right? So it will take a entire like 1 or 2 weeks to delete all those instances. So what we did that time, we came here to this point called health management. We came to know about it from one of the admin person. So we came to health management, and here we have some commands. Okay, now whenever we use this term command, as a developer, we freak out, because again we have to learn some command in that case, right? I mean, 7 to 8 years back, if I have to tell the admin team that please delete like 4000 instances in the server, they will go to the command prompt and they will run some command from there, and they will delete all the instances. It is that simple for them. But for a developer, we have to learn BPM as well as if we also have to learn commands, then that becomes a overhead for us, right? That's the reason this feature was introduced. That even without knowing a command, I can still delete instances if I want to. I am talking about deleting instances, but here there are other features also. A lot of features are there which says event manager. You guys will not be able to understand this right now because we have a session on events. Without understanding events, you will not be able to understand what an event manager does. Okay. So if you go down, you have this option called count process, delete process, delete snapshots. Okay. These three options are part of my BPM. Then you have prune PW, count BPL processes, delete BPL processes. So these three are part of my integration designer. We discussed about IBM BPM advanced, where you get the integration designer also, right? So these options are actually associated with the integration designer and not with the BPM application. So if I have to delete instances, then I should be using this option, delete processes. If I want to count how many instances are there in the server, then I can use this option, count processes. Snapshots. Okay. What is a snapshot? Say today we have a team of say 15 people. We are doing a development on say leave application. Now, if I have to deploy this application to say UAT environment for testing, so I have to create a snapshot in very simple words. In other technologies, you must have heard of the term version. So here in IBM BPM, we call versioning as snapshot. Okay. So we create a snapshot of the application and we deploy that snapshot to UAT. Okay. So if I have to delete some snapshot, I can do that from here as well. Although deleting snapshot is not something we should be doing, guys. Again, best practice. We are discussing about the best practices. Developer never deletes the snapshot. It is a work of the admin team or the infra team. So we should not be deleting any snapshot from any environment. We should tell the admin team or the infra team that please go and delete the snapshots, but we should not be deleting any snapshot by ourselves. Okay. So count process, delete snapshot, even go at the top, get event manager task, delete event manager task, replay event manager task, get event manager task details. So all these are part of BPM. Okay. Now we'll use an option called count process or delete process. Say if I want to delete some instances, here processes resembles instances. Okay. If I have to delete some instances, then I can come here. I can use this option. If you see here, there is something called parameters. So there are certain parameters like states, force, container, version. So all these things are there. These are the different parameters that are available. So using these parameters, I can actually delete the different instances that are available in this server. Okay, let me explain you one option, then you will be able to understand, because the same whatever parameters you see here, they are also available in the other options also. Okay, so let's understand this parameter one by one, so that future, if you have to do some kind of cleanup activity for your at least development server, then you can do it from here. Okay, so here what we see there's something called states, the first parameter. What is states? State is nothing but the state of an instance. We will anyways, whenever we are going to design the process, that time I'll show you what are the different states of an instance. And even today also I shared one URL with you guys through which you can download the Colburn book. There also you can view all the different states of an instance. It is also mentioned there properly. Now here we have the different states of the instance. Now whenever an instance gets created, right, the state of an instance is active. Okay. Now over here you will not see that term, because these terms are, whatever terms you see, these terms are here mentioned uh, with associated with the admin team. So they are aware of these terms. Now if I am a developer, Then for me, if an instance is active, if an instance is created, then the state of the instance is active. Okay. Now, if I consider the state, the similar state over here, then here you see something called run. Okay. So if an instance is active and if I delete that instance, then I can select this option called running. Whenever an instance is completed, right? Whenever all the tasks in the instance are completed, then definitely my instance will also be completed. Then that time the state of the instance we call as a developer, we call it as completed. But here we have something called finished. Okay. If I terminate an instance, right? The state of the instance changes to terminated. So we have that state called terminated over here. Say there is an instance which is active. Now somehow I feel that the instance, if I continue with this instance, then at some point of time the instance might fail. So what we generally do, we try to suspend that instance. And as a developer, we go back to our authoring environment, we fix the issue, and then what we do, we deploy the snap to say UAT. And after deploying the fix, whatever instances I have suspended, I can again resume that instance so that the instance doesn't fail now, right? So whenever you suspend an instance, the state of an instance changes to suspended. So here also we have an option of suspended. Stopped. I can directly stop an instance. Okay. So basically stopping an instance is actually very similar to terminating. As a developer, we don't have any state called stopped. Okay. So we have only active, completed, failed. If some instance fails at any point of time, the state changes to failed. Okay. So guys, we are discussing these things over here, but still we'll be discussing this separately whenever we'll start the lab session. Okay. That time I'll just write these things in a notepad and we'll discuss about this. Since we are discussing this health management today and we have the states over here. So this states, whatever you see as a list, even if you go to the Kolbam book, the states are not there. Okay. So as a developer, we consider the states with different terms. Like we have active, we have completed, we have suspended, we have terminated, right? So all these things we consider as the states. So here we have stopped and then we have did not start. So these two options, although they are here, but in a real time scenario, whatever states we are aware of as a developer, this two doesn't come into any of them. Okay. So now say I have to delete some instances which are already completed or say which are terminated. Say whatever terminated instances are there in the server, I want to delete those instances. Then I have to select terminated out of all these states, whatever I can see in this first table. Next is the second component or the second option which says force. What it says, set this parameter to the value true if you want to delete process instances regardless of whether they are in an end state. Basically, if I want to delete any instance, if I really want this option to run and delete some instance, then I always have to select true over here. And this is a mandatory parameter. Without this, I cannot execute or I cannot run this command. Similarly, states, whatever we see, we have to select at least one state from here to execute this command. Okay. If you do not select any state, then this command will not run or will not be triggered. Okay. I can also select more than one state. That is also fine. That is also, it can be taken into consideration, but without any state, we cannot execute this command. Okay. Rest, whatever you see, guys, actually optional, but still we'll go and discuss each of them. Okay. Next is container. What it says, the acronym of the process application for which the process instances are deleted. So whenever we create a process, whenever we create a process application, not a process, I showed that yesterday, we also give an acronym, right, for the process application. So now this server, this environment, so this is a development environment. Now we have so many applications over here, right? If I talk about my project where I am working right now, so there are multi stakeholders who are working on different projects. So I work for Morgan Stanley. So the stakeholder which I belong to, say TCS. So we are working on, say, two applications over there, two process applications. Similarly, there is another organization, say Capgemini, who is also working for Morgan Stanley. Now they are also working in some process application. Similarly, Accenture is also there. They are also working on some other application. So say in a development environment, we have say around say 30, 35 applications are running, right? Now I don't want to delete instances from all the applications, right? If I am working on say leave application, then I have to mention that, okay, if you want to delete some instances, please delete them from only this application, leave application, right? Not working in the other applications, I should not delete the instances from there. I mean, then I'll get a compliance, I'll get escalation mails, right? So that's the reason here we can mention the acronym of the process application for which we want to delete the instances. Okay. Now, if you are working or if you are part of say multiple applications, then also you can give multiple acronyms over here. That is also supported. Okay, I can give the acronyms of multiple process applications over here, but yes, they should be comma separated. Okay, say if I am working on say two different applications, say I give an acronym, I have an acronym say team mgt, and say I also work on another application say, and that has an acronym say rwjp. So I can delete the instances, delete the terminated instances from both these applications by mentioning the acronym, and I'm using a comma to distinguish between two different process applications. Okay, this can be done, right? Now we know container. Now comes version. So basically, we are going deep into the process application part. So now you're maintaining the acronym, then you mention the version, which means say I am working on say leave application. I want to delete some instances from the leave application. Now I can again mention the version as well. Say I have already 5 versions deployed in say UAT environment. Say this is a UAT environment. Okay. Now say already 5 versions have been deployed before. Now I want to delete the terminated instances from a specific snapshot that has been deployed before. So that snapshot version I can mention over here. Okay. Now snapshot version, if I say different snapshot versions can be there. So leave application version 1.0, leave application version 1.2, 1.1. Like this, say we have till say 1.5. Okay, say we have a release next month, and we have created say 5 versions which has been deployed till now to UAT. Right now, if I have to delete the terminated instances say from version 1.5, so I have to mention the acronym of that version over here. Okay, now you're thinking that process application has an acronym. So does a snapshot also has an acronym? Whenever we are creating a snapshot manually, does it also have an acronym? The answer is yes. Whenever we are creating a snapshot of any process application, there is also an acronym that gets generated for that snapshot. Now, you have seen in case of process application created last day, I was providing the acronym manually, right? But whenever you take a snapshot, we don't have to create the acronym manually. So that acronym gets generated in the backend, and we can access that acronym from few places. What places we'll be discussing that later. Okay, whenever we discuss about the deployments and tracks and snapshots, that time I'll show you how to get the acronym of a snapshot. But the answer is yes. Whenever you take a snapshot, an acronym also gets generated for that snapshot. Okay, so that acronym you have to mention over here. You see what is mentioned over here? A comma separated list of snapshot acronyms for which process instances are deleted. Which means here I cannot mention the snapshot name, but instead I have to mention the acronym of the snapshot. Now, if I want to delete instances from multiple snapshots, I can mention the acronyms of those multiple snapshots respectively, and I can use comma separated acronyms over here. Okay, similar container, I can also mention if there are multiple acronyms, I can mention them using comma separated. Okay, that is my version. Ended before, ended after. This you can understand. Like if you have a specific timeline, like often there are scenarios where you will want to delete the instances between a specific time interval, right? So that time you can mention it over here. You see here there is mention like YYUS. This is the time format basically which you have to maintain, and you have to specify the time in similar way over here. Okay, process IDs. Now here process IDs is telling a comma separated list of process instance identifiers. Now the good thing about this option, if you have an instance ID already handy, right? So I'm already aware of the instance. Then you can directly mention the instance ID over here, and you can delete that. Okay. Now for us, for the developers, we don't have to do so much of thing for deleting an instance. We can straight away go to the process inspector or the inspector view, and we get the instance from there. But say if we are not using those components, then we can come here and we can also delete the instance from here by mentioning the instance ID as well. Okay, very simple actually, all these parameters. And whatever we are discussing, guys, till force, states and force, these two are mandatory parameters. Okay, if I and container versions ended before, ended after, process ID, transaction slice, these are all non-mandatory parameters, which means I can even execute this command without filling up anything over here. But I believe you guys can now understand if we don't fill up those options, what can happen, right? So there is some challenge if you don't fill up certain parameters. So if I don't mention acronym and try to delete something over here, so there is a UAT environment, and I don't mention anything in the version or the container, and I go and click on submit, then get ready for escalation mails to come. Okay. Now comes the last option, transaction slice. So basically you can mention some value over here. So say for example, there are like 400 instances which are terminated in this environment. Now, obviously, if I go and directly click on submit, all the 400 instances will not be deleted at one time, right? So I have to mention some number over here. So if I mention here, say 20, so whenever you click on submit, at a go, 20 instances will be deleted. If you mention here 50, then whenever you click on submit, at a go 50 instances will be deleted. And if you don't mention anything, by default it takes 10. So 10 instances will be deleted. Okay. Now if there are 400 instances, so don't think just mention 400 in this way. So this can slow down your server. At a go, we should not delete like more than 15 instances. That is the best practice. Okay. So at a go, we should delete maximum 50 instances, not more than that. Okay, so if there are 50 instances you want to delete at one go, then 8 times we have to click on submit to delete all the 400 instances. Okay, so this is the health management. Similar options you can yourself explore for deleting snapshot and deleting count processes. So similar terms will be there, similar parameters will be there, so go through them. So whenever you do the installation, then you can do all these options by yourself. And any queries if you have, you can come up with those queries. Okay. So today we'll close it here. It's almost 10. So we are left with the other options. We are going to cover that tomorrow. So if you have any doubts or questions, please you can discuss on that.
Rahul, can you repeat what is slice ID, please?
Yes. Yes. So transaction slice is basically if I want to mention like at a go how many instances I want to delete. What do I mean by at a go? So if I mention here say 20, if I click on submit, then 20 instances will be deleted whenever I'm on submit. If I mention here say 40, then 40 instances will be deleted whenever I click on submit. Okay, that is the transaction size basically. It says specifies the number of instances that are deleted per transaction. So whenever you click on submit, that is considered as a transaction.
Rahul, is there any limit?
There is no limit. You can mention as how much you can, but the thing is that we should not cross beyond 50. Okay, so 50 is the best case.
Thanks.
So all the parameters in this are compulsory. Like everything should be filled before we delete that.
No, so not all are compulsory. So only you see states, you see next to states, you have this mandatory parameter. You see this is a required field. So only states is mandatory, but yes, force also we should mention, because if you don't mention the force to true, then this command will not be executed. So first two parameters are mandatory and rest are not. I mean, you understood right every parameter, then you can
Yes.
understand the importance. So we should go and mention this actually whenever we are running any command. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other queries?